Okay, again, it just randomly interrupted me there. It said my phone storage space was full, so I just had to delete a bunch of stuff. Hopefully that was plenty of space. I think I've got my points. Well, I think I've expressed all of my things here. And you know, I don't really know. I don't really know if I can really make solid arguments enough about, you know, why I should live in a certain place over another, or, you know, what mode of transportation is the best, or why one culture's things are better than another's, or historical facts or anything like that. Because I kind of realized that, you know, many of the people are going to have different opinions. And that as much as I want to make, you know, as much as I want to make arguments for certain things or feel like, okay, yep, okay, we kind of figured it out, right? No one can argue with me. That's the truth. That's the way it is. Letting go, boom. People can't challenge me. And then if I do, I can just easily, you know, get back. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Let me rephrase that. Let me try to rephrase this. Okay, so as much as I feel solidly in my opinions, or at least oftentimes do, or at least in that I think that certain things are bad or negative, there's a few errors that I've noticed with my thoughts, or sort of blind spots, or things I haven't necessarily know how to properly address, or just things that I know that I just don't know necessarily what to do with. One is that I tend to focus more on the negative than the positive in many situations with many things. It's honestly very easy to, you know, so many of us are you know, biologically, chemically, physiologically, that sort of way, right? You know, it's so much harder to, you know, it feels like we have this sort of negativity bias. It's actually something that's been researched and proven through psychology, you know. And also, another thing that goes along the right side of this is that also I'm an overthinker. I get anxious, I get afraid, but I also sometimes overestimate seriously how bad certain things are. Whether that be the reality of being a working adult, having jobs, getting tons of money, spending on different sort of things, having, you know, people that you're responsible for, you know, lots of other sort of practical detail things like that. You know, I recognize in my life, I've often been so scared of things that were coming up ahead that I honestly tried to feel like I was going to do whatever it took to avoid them as much as I could, or to try to negate whatever sort of negative effects I feel like I'd get or have or whatever from that. For example, you know, when I was ending elementary school, I felt like I was like, I'm honestly pretty scared to go to middle school. I don't know if I'm going to get bullied. I don't know, you know, how the lockers thing is going to work, how much harder the schoolwork's going to be. And it was hard at first. It really was. You know? But then, a large part due to my mom, but nonetheless, I figured it out. I got better. I solved things, and then, you know, 8th grade year rolled around, and I was like, you know, it's pretty good. I didn't love everything, but I was like, hey, I had a lot of great experiences. I made some new friends. I had a lot of funny memories. You know, I did pretty well academically. You know, so that's a start. And then I was scared for high school. And guess what? Same thing happened there. I was afraid of, again, lockers, bullying, yeah, but, you know, also figuring out, like, ooh, if I'm gonna do dating stuff, or, you know, just like how much harder is the work gonna be on that front, as well as the fact that, honestly, I don't know how many other kids experience this, but like when you're getting close to 18, you feel like, oh hey, after I'm 18, your parents are like, all right, go fuck yourself, bye bye, and you just expected to figure everything out immediately as soon as you turn 18. And I don't know. That was highly over exaggerated. I was honestly kind of afraid of a little bit of my 18th birthday. Not because of, oh, I was just simply getting older, but because of the things that came along with that. I was afraid that I'd suddenly be expected to do way more stuff immediately. I'd suddenly be expected to take on an insane shit more tons of responsibilities. And yes, I will be taking on more responsibilities as I get older. I mean, that's just part of life. And that's something I have to accept and I have to learn. And as much as I feel like I want to get away from, or run away or from hard things, at some point you have to say, okay, that's how it is, and you have to stand your ground and fight it and get through it. And sometimes I've done that. But it's sometimes hard for me to remember that that's what I can do in life, that I don't have to, that as much as I feel like if I just had this other thing instead, or if I went to this other place, or if I didn't do this or that and instead went and met this person, or you get the idea, that, you know, oh, life would be better. And sometimes, admittedly, some things like that are true. And this is a very, very simple, a very silly example, but, you know, let's take Minecraft, for example. You know, I have both Bedrock and Java Edition, but I know that, you know, when I was playing Bedrock Edition, not for the entire time, but for much of that experience, I was very frustrated. I was very confused. I felt like the game was extremely laggy, bugged out, and you know, there's just so many things that were missing, and also just the fact that the marketplace, I hated that a lot of the times, just because you had to pay for things, especially when I figured out that the Java Edition, you didn't have to pay for pretty much anything at all, or if you did, it's illegal. So you don't really have to pay for anything other than the game itself and runs, or like a server. But like besides those, everything else is free, you know? And I was like, hey, if I have Java Edition, I will enjoy playing Minecraft even more. And I did. And I've enjoyed playing Minecraft more. And I don't actually have very many complaints with Java Edition other than just lag. If I'm just playing on a vanilla version, or if the weather's really bad. But again, this isn't necessarily how everything in life is. It's not just, oh, it's simply if I just trade in this thing for another, oh, I just buy my ticket or a way into this other game or land or whatever, that suddenly everything in life is going to be so much more better. And I don't know, and again, maybe because of the Minecraft thing, I didn't think it was necessarily going to be perfect, but I just thought it'd be better. And it was. But the question for myself that I have, I think, I'm sorry, this has been a really long video, of, you know, is this what it's going to be like if I move to another place? What kind of, I ask myself, what kind of expectations, what kind of hopes do I have? You know, what do I think would be the benefits to moving to one place over another? And I think that it's hard because I feel like I'm motivated by both curiosity and fear. I'm really curious to see what's out there in the world, to meet with some new people, to try some new things, you know, to get exposed, have more creative ideas, have really cool, interesting experiences. But I'm also really afraid of feeling trapped here, feeling like I'm stuck here, that I would have to fend myself through a system that I hate on so many levels, like I talked about earlier, and just sort of questions like that. So I think that you all understand pretty much everything that hopefully any viewers understand the vast majority, if not everything, of everything that I've said. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I am sorry for the way that I've in the past sometimes talked about certain groups of people, particularly politically so, rather than other types, but nonetheless, well, I just want to mention, I was trying to mention this other one thing, and I'm sorry, this video's been really long, but also when I mentioned talking about with a sort of thing about, or I sometimes have moments of those, whatever, of, being proud again of being American with certain things, right? Or that I feel like I've conditioned myself to be ashamed of my nationality or whatever. It feels like, I guess, a little bit of a thing of that. I think part of the reason why I feel a little ashamed and have is because, I feel a little proud. And I grew up learning that pride is not a good thing. That being proud of something was a sin. But not just like, oh, you sinned. Sure. Sorry, Lord. Do better next time. No, that it was genuinely a very horrible thing, right? That, and I don't know, maybe some people, maybe some pastors or churches that I was at or other things actually said this. Maybe I just completely misunderstood what I read in the Bible, and I internalized that. I don't know. And I'm not here to talk about why, but just the point being that it feels a little bit like that, if I've had something where I've been so set and I talk to people and I say, this is what I'm planning on doing, right? And I dedicate myself to that. I learn a lot about that thing. For example, for about 2-3 years, something like that, I very seriously was planning on moving to Sweden after college. And that's what I thought. That's what I was planning on. I learned some Swedish. I'm kind of losing the grip of it, and honestly, I kind of just gave up on Duolingo because I just wasn't really feeling like learning another language. I don't really need to right now, and I'm just not feeling motivated. I don't really feel as much of an interest. But I was just going to learn Swedish. I learned about some culture and customs, and I was like, sounds really cool. Sounds really fun. I learned about some of the negative things too, and I was like, all right, and here's what I'll do about it, right? And so I was planning on moving there, but then, I didn't, and then I changed my mind in the last few months. I changed my mind. I think it was like about, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago, something like that. Maybe 3, I don't know. I don't know how long it's been. And, I thought, hey, I want to go to Canada instead, right? Some of the similar reasons as for why I want to go to Sweden, and not entirely the same, but similar things, such as the, actually good healthcare system that's not going to, make people be broke, or being much more accepting of different cultures, being much more progressive, being more cooperative instead of competitive environment, having generally cleaner spaces, water, healthier food, less additives and whatnot, more affordable housing, cooler climate, stuff like that. It's just been like, I forget what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Right, something about the whole thing of where I was planning on moving somewhere, that kind of thing, right? So, yeah, so I also had to come to my mind of the thing of like where I something I've wondered about a little bit. I don't think about this terribly often, but it's popped in my head a few times here and there. Of like, if I go and live somewhere else, am I gonna feel like that? Okay, now that I live in this place that I wanted to live in, am I going to feel like, hey, I'm part of the majority here. I feel like I identify with this common culture. I'm gonna be part of the group finally. You know, maybe whatever. Or am I still gonna feel like I'm different? I'm still gonna feel like I'm isolated. Am I still gonna, well, not isolated. Maybe this is an exaggeration. Am I still gonna feel like that I'm not really particularly wanted, or that like I'm you know, or am I just gonna be like, okay, now this is the majority now, so I'm gonna do something different because I want to be different, because because I don't want to be mainstream. I don't want to feel like that I'm falling for the same sort of traps. I've looked down on, and I'm honestly a little ashamed of this, but for much of my life, I looked down on pop culture. I looked down on people who chose to do things because they were popular, because most other people did, because I didn't feel like that. I was that. And yes, sometimes it was questions about originality, self-expression, you know, stuff like that. I've had moments where that was kind of the more driving force about why I didn't want to be part of the larger sort of culture, or, you know, adapt to that. But I think it was mostly just because I was like, I don't really feel like that I'm part of that, and then I just kind of feel compelled to continue to resist that. And I just wonder, am I going to feel the same way if I go somewhere else? And I think that I might very well, but I don't know. I hope not, but we'll see. I mean, then again, I might be too fucking tired to even think like that. So, who knows? Maybe simply just becoming an adult, you know, having school, having jobs, eventually, we'll see, maybe not, having, you know, partner or partners or children of my own might, and probably will change my priorities quite significantly. I might not even have the willpower or energy to even think about stuff like this. And no, honestly, I think I'll probably be fine. But nonetheless, I just hope that I hope that anyone watching this, you understood this, and that I am sorry for some of the things that I've said. I'm sorry because honestly, sometimes I feel really fucking stupid for being so adamant in my particular view, or at least I don't know if it comes off as that way or not, but that's what it feels like to me sometimes. That I get so set in things, and I don't want to become too closed off. I did that socially when I was a kid, and I didn't even really seriously think to change that. I didn't really decide to change that until high school. So, yeah. But, again, I hope anyone watching this understood this stuff. And I'm sorry. This video was long. My apologies. But I hope whatever time it is, hope you have a good day, good night. And I'll see you again. I'll definitely be making some more videos, so don't think I'm going anywhere. See ya.